How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. Delighted to have you with me today. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, we will be a little looser on phones today because we're all off the rest of the week for Thanksgiving. And that is where I want to begin the show today. It is important, I think, that we talk about Thanksgiving because the history of Western civilization is about Thanksgivings. There have been Thanksgivings in this country well before the Civil War, well before the Pilgrims set foot. You know, most famously in 1621, the Pilgrims at Plymouth got together with the local Indian tribes and celebrated a Thanksgiving. But as we know, in May of 1541, Coronado near Amarillo, Texas, had the first Thanksgiving we can document historically in the Western Hemisphere. And they had been going on for a while in Europe. It was a tradition to set aside time, goes back to the biblical era, to set aside a time each year for Thanksgiving. The French Huguenots in 1564 had a Thanksgiving at Fort Caroline, Florida. In 1607, the English joined with the local Indian tribes in Maine and had a Thanksgiving. And then in 1610 in Jamestown, Virginia, they held a date of Thanksgiving that was thereafter commemorated every year because the people in Jamestown were on hard times. There had been a drought. They were starving. And suddenly on the horizon, they saw masts and then ships rise across the horizon. And the English settlers at Berkeley Hundred, Virginia, declared that there would be a yearly, quote, and perpetually kept holy as a day of thanksgiving to Almighty God. We get our Thanksgiving, though. There have always been Thanksgivings, but we put our finger on 1621 when 50 pilgrims joined around 100 Indians, along with Massasoit being the tribe's leader, for a 3-day-long harvest festival. And so even today, we use the cornucopias, we have turkeys. The Pilgrims had hard times when they came to the country. One of the things that a lot of people don't appreciate now, it's not lost to history, it's just not taught, is that farming in feudal societies was very socialist. And I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, although it should take on that. It may be a better word is communal farming. Everyone would prop up the land together. Shared harvests. What happened in Plymouth in Massachusetts was similar to that. The Pilgrims came, they had common land, farmed it in common, and the result is typically what happens in communist societies. A lot of people did not put in much labor, relying on the stronger people to do most of the work, and things didn't go well. No one had real investment in it in a communal property. And famine existed. It was a very hard time in 1621 and 1622. When they arrived, winter was setting in, and a lot of the people who arrived on the Mayflower, they stayed on the Mayflower, and like half the people died. It was a very hard time. Some of them returned and set sail to England in April 1621. They'd given up. They came here as religious dissidents, breaking with the Church of England. They arrived, and it wasn't good. William Bradford, the governor, wrote at the time, within 3 months of their landing at Plymouth Rock, quote, "Of 100 and odd persons, scarce 50 remained. And of these in ye times of most distress, there were but 6 or 7 sound persons who to their great commendation, do be it spoken, spared no pains night or day, but with abundance of toil and hazard of their own health, did all ye homely and necessary offices which dainty and queasy stomachs cannot endure to hear named, and all this willingly and cheerfully, showing therein their true love unto their friends and brethren." A rare example of worth to be remembered. So of 100 some odd people, 50 remained and only 6 or 7 were competent, and they did all the work. One half of the crew of the Mayflower, including many of their officers, boatswains, gunners, quartermasters, the cook, and others, perished before they could turn around in April of 1621. William Bradford documented what happened in the Great Turnaround. In the first year or so, they planted in common. The Indians took mercy on them and helped, and they nearly starved. But then in 1623, for their annual Thanksgiving festival, they had an overabundance of food. Any general want or famine hath not been among us since to this day, Governor Bradford wrote in his journal in 1623. Why? Well, Governor Bradford, quote, "assigned to every family a parcel of land according to the proportion of their number for that end, only for present use, and ranged all boys and youth under some family. This had very good success, for it made all hands very industrious, so as much more corn was planted than otherwise would have been by any means, yet governor or any other use, and saved him a great deal of trouble, and gave far better content. The women now went willingly into the field, and took their little ones with them to set corn, which before would allege weakness and inability, whom to have compelled would have been through great tyranny and oppression." In other words, what Governor Bradford was writing is that in 1623, instead of planting in common, he gave to each family a plot of land and told that family the land was assigned based on the number of children and husband and wife, and said, "You're going to plant this land for your family. And any you have left can be traded with other families." And guess what happened? Every family knew it was either going to work or die. And so every family wound up planting. And where women in the past and children would complain that it was oppression to make them work the fields, would now willingly go work to take care of their own families. Bradford wrote, "The experience that was had in this common course and condition tried sundry years, and that amongst godly and sober men may well evince the vanity of that conceit of Plato and other ancients, that ye taking away of property and bringing into a commonwealth would make them happy and flourish, and if they were wiser than God. For this community, so far as it was found to breed much confusion and discontent, and retard much employment that would have been to their benefit and comfort. For ye young men that were most able and fit for labor and service did repine that they should spend their time and strength to work for other men's wives and children without any recompense. The strong, or man of parts, had no more in division of victuals and cloth than he. This was weak and not able to do a quarter, ye other could, thought it was injustice." In other words, when you made them work in common for each other, they claimed oppression and it bred discontent because they thought they were having to work for other people instead of themselves. So instead, in 1623, William Bradford ordered each man to plant for his own family, giving them a plot of land sufficient to do so, and they flourished. And then in 1624, they did something else. When it came time for the spring planting of 1624, the Pilgrims under Governor Bradford did, this is what he wrote in his journal, I must speak of their planting this year, they having found ye benefit of their last year's harvest, and setting corn for their particular, having thereby with a great deal of patience overcome hunger and famine. That they might increase their tillage to better advantage, they made suit to the governor to have some portion of land given them for continuance, and not by yearly allotment. For by that means, that which ye more industrious had brought into good condition one year, came to leave it yet next. And often another might enjoy it. So as the dressings of their land were the more slighted over into less profit, which being well considered, their request was granted. To every person was given only 1 acre of land to them and theirs, and nary town as may be, and they had no more till 7 years were expired. In other words, they went from giving the allotment in 2023 where they put work into the land, and the next year in 2024 it could go to someone else, and they came to William Bradford and said, hey, we put all the work into our acre of land, let us keep our acre of land, instead of every year doing a lottery to assign the land. And so private property became a thing on this continent in 1624, when William Bradford said, instead of giving people a plot of land and then taking it back at the end of the year and reassigning it the next year, every family would be given this acre of land to keep in perpetuity for them to tend and till to grow for their family. And guess what? By 1626, Governor Bradford told us, it pleased the Lord to give the plantation peace and health and contented minds, and so to bless their labors, as they had come sufficient with other food. Neither ever had they any supply of food but what they first brought with them. After harvest this year, they sent out a boatload of corn, 40 or 50 leagues, to eastward up a river called the Kennebec. God preserved them and gave them good cess, and they brought home beaver and fur and more. They had so much food, they started trading with the Indians and then others who moved. The overabundance of individual private property rights got the Pilgrims from starving every year to plentiful and bountiful, to the point that they could trade and import and export. And then what happened? Famine persisted in England. Famine persisted in England because in England they still farmed in common. It was the general practice for another 100 years. Not until the second decade of the 1700s did setting crops for their own purpose begin to be accepted in England. Why did it begin to be accepted in England? Because word came back from the colonies that the Pilgrims, who they all thought would go and starve to death, learned that if you divide up land for families, give the families the land and tell them to take care of their families on the land, they would plant an overabundance and begin to trade. And it still took 100 years for that lesson to sink back into England. It was the colonists who saved England from starving, because the colonists discovered private property rights. And we've been celebrating Thanksgiving ever since. Don't forget, the celebration of American Thanksgiving is intertwined with the idea of private property rights. It was the very basis by which the Pilgrims survived and spread their lessons to the other English colonists, who then moved in to the colonial land, and they told them, make each person farm for him and his family and give him a plot of land that will be his in perpetuity, and you will not have famine. And they did not have famine, because they had private property. And the families in abundance were able to trade with those whose crops failed, and everyone took care of everyone that way by first taking care of themselves. And for that, we should all be thankful. Hello, my friends. I hope you're ready for Thanksgiving. Remember, you better have your turkey thawing out in the fridge. Do not thaw your turkey on the counter. You want to minimize the risk of food poisoning. Thawing it out on the counter. By the way, also remember, If you have a big turkey, if you put it on the smoker, don't smoke it at like 225, 250. You need to go up to about 300, 275, but really 300 and up. Why? Because it's food poison. If you get a 20-pound turkey, your exterior is going to be done while your interior is not, and it's going to completely overcook if you're not careful. But at 225, you can warm stuff up on the outside while the inside's still really cold and get bacteria going. It's not pleasant. So be careful with your turkey. It's not a hard thing, but Google spatchcocking, and that makes it better. You cut out the backbone and flatten out the turkey. That's what I'm going to do. So I got two 12-pound turkeys. And I'm going to cut out the backbone and flatten them and put them on my Rectech together. And they'll cook a little quicker than if you just leave them big with the cavity in the middle. You don't need to put stuffing in it anyway. You're just going to kill your family with food poisoning if you try to put raw stuffing in and then let it cook. No, it doesn't all work out that way. I don't understand people. Just cut the backbone out, flatten the bird, put it in your smoker. You can fry it if you want. I don't fry turkeys. Everybody's always shocked. You're from Louisiana, you don't fry a turkey? I've never been a big fried turkey fan. I love fried food. Look at me. Don't get me wrong. I love fried food, but I don't like fried turkey. I like smoked turkey. I really like roast turkey in the oven, but the rest of the family, not so much. So I will smoke the turkeys for my in-laws, and I'm going to make some gumbo, and I'm going to make the gravy. And my son wants me to make a chocolate pie, so I will make a chocolate pie, and we'll do lots of cooking. So I will be gone tomorrow because in addition to some extra grocery shopping I got to do, I got to start chopping vegetables for gumbo and making food. It'll be a good time, a good, delicious time in the Erickson household and with my in-laws on Thursday. Now, when we come back, you may have already seen this video. But my gosh, the arrogance and ignorance of the people who do that CNN show at night, it's just wild to me. And these people are melting down over Elon Musk. First, I got to tell you, if you're an individual or a business and you're ready for a new computer and you're scared to death because do I have to rebuy the apps? What about my documents and email? Vision Computer can migrate everything for you. So your new computer, it's like your old computer, except it's brand new. You call them at 404-COMPUTER, go to visioncomputers.com. They can build your computer for you. They can migrate over all your apps, all of your documents, all your settings, your preferences, everything. So when you get the new computer, it runs like your old computer, but it runs blazing fast without any problems. And if you just want their tech support, you can get it for just $179 a year per computer. Makes it wonderful. If you buy your computer from Vision, though, that tech support comes with it. You get a phone number. You get to call them. 15 seconds or less, they answer the phone, and they take care of you. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. Tell them I sent you. You're going to save even more money. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Let Vision build your computers for you and be your tech support solution. You can thank me later. You will love them. Greetings, conversationalists. It's Eric Erickson here, and I am delighted to have you. The phone number is 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. I have been invited multiple times to be on a CNN show that's filmed in New York. It's 10 p.m. Abby Phillips's show, and I've turned them down politely, but I don't really want to be on the show. It's like two Republicans, one of whom is conservative, one of whom typically isn't. Sometimes they are. The last night was Jim Garrity and Scott Jennings. They're both pretty conservative, but then you're surrounded by a bunch of people on the left, including the anchor moderator of the discussion who tends to be clueless. This is where Ryan Gadowski got banned for making a joke about Mehdi Hassan's pager going off. Ryan Gadowski had previously made a comment about the Ferguson effect, and everyone on the show was aghast at the idea of the Ferguson effect, had never heard of it, called it mythology. Abby Phillips, the anchor, was also shocked, had no idea what he was talking about, and turns out she had written about the Ferguson effect when she was a reporter of the Washington Post. I'm dumbfounded by the whole show. But there was an exchange last night because Elon Musk is threatening to buy MSNBC. That's right. He's threatening to buy MSNBC, which would be hilarious. Comcast wants to get rid of it. Too much of a headache. Not making any money. Y'all can't understand. So let me just put this in perspective for you. If you watch cable news, 70+% of people who watch cable news watch Fox News. About 12% watch MSNBC and 11% watch CNN. And the rest watch Newsmax, News Nation, OAN, and the like. Bloomberg, CNBC. Like 70% of people who watch cable news are watching Fox News. MSNBC, its audience skews coastal and old. CNN actually has a broader pool of people who watch. It's just not a lot of people who watch. But CNN, the age range of people who watch CNN is much broader than the age range of people who watch MSNBC. But you watch this CNN show, that they're just having a not normal situation about Elon Musk and Twitter. They're upset with Twitter. And the gist of the argument and concern from the left is that they don't control it, therefore it's bad. Listen to this exchange on CNN last night.
Is that platforms are not regulated right now, which gives them carte blanche to whatever they want right now. Elon is not someone who likes to be regulated. And so to buy MSN, he would go under some federal regulations.
Who's regulating CNN right now?
The FCC.
We're not a broadcast. It's cable.
Now, I'm going to pause. That's my buddy Jim Garrity from National Review. Who's regulating CNN? The look of just who the hell are you to question me on these two women's faces when he points that out. So cable news is not regulated over the airwaves because it's not the airwaves. You can go on a cable news channel and utter profanity, and you can't get in trouble with the FCC. You do it on ABC, CBS, or NBC, you're going to get in trouble. The Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction, things like that. The fact that they didn't know is a big red flag for everything that comes thereafter in this conversation.
I don't really think cable stations are under the same regulatory structure that broadcast is.
It's definitely regulated more than than Facebook and
there's
Twitter.
Still, what she's saying is that there's still a litmus test of journalism that you have to pass. You can't come on TV and just make up things and say things.
Wait. Notice now that they're doing the three-card Monte. They're shuffling, trying to distract. They start with they're not regulated by the FCC. First, they claim regulation by the FCC. Then, if they're exposed as not, they're like, well, you can't just come on TV and make stuff up. They do it all the time.
X. Please don't give me the eyebrow furrow as if you don't know what I'm talking about. It happens often on X. I can go and say the color is blue, and I will be met with so many disrespectful remarks. No one's regulating the N-word. No one's regulating the criticism. No one is regulating how people are treated.
How much government regulation of the First Amendment are you for?
Let me tell you something. If I came on here and I just started calling you all kind of names, do you think the bosses would let me continue to do that?
I mean, it happens to me occasionally. I don't know if you watch
it doesn't happen to you, but it doesn't happen for me, and I know that I wouldn't be able to do that. There's a level of professionalism in what we do here because we are journalists and we adhere to something at least morally, and there is no moral compass on this thing called. You're also
okay. The arrogance to say we are journalists, we have some sort of moral ethic, but again, pay attention to the line of argument from these idiots, and they are idiots. These are idiot people. They go from the FCC regulates CNN, which it doesn't. And when that's pointed out, they say, well, there's regulation here that's not on Twitter. We couldn't come here and say something you can say on Twitter because the bosses wouldn't allow it. The bosses are not the government. And for the record, you can go on CNN and compare Donald Trump's supporters to Nazis and get away with it. It happens all the time. When I was at CNN, I knew there were things I couldn't say that people on the left absolutely could say and get away with it because it's not that there's regulation, it's that there's a double standard. But these geniuses, when confronted with the fact that CNN is not regulated by the FCC, are suddenly, well, but we can say anything. Well, yes, The internet's kind of the Wild West. To Scott Jennings' question, you will note she could not answer it. How much regulation of the First Amendment do you want? She tried to dodge it. But then there was this exchange with the same thing where Scott Jennings points out that actually Twitter's pretty fair and balanced.
Also, I heard what you're saying about X. I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott,
of any platform.
stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes. You cannot continue to say
the show, but
you
it's
cannot say that.
So-
That's not the case. Who's the source?
What I find, we reported it on this network.
It's not accurate, and you know it.
Okay. The anchor said, who reported that? Who reported that? Who reported that? It's not accurate. That is what the anchor on the CNN show says. Who reported that? And the other journalist who makes a big deal about being a journalist says that's not accurate. So who reported that Twitter's the most fair and balanced social media network? Why, that would be no one other than Harry Inton at CNN.
Look at this. The party ID among those who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better.
What? Therein lies the problem. Again, I got to go back to this because I think this is so important. This is Scott Jennings' clip. You're going to hear the anchor say, who reported that? Keep in mind, CNN itself reported it.
Also, I heard what you're saying about X. I saw a survey this week. It's now the most ideologically balanced user platform.
Scott,
of any platform.
stop. It's too early. I just sat down. I've only been here for 2 minutes. You cannot continue to say
the show, but
you
it's
cannot
true.
say that.
So-
That's not the case. Who's the source?
And that's the anchor saying, who was that source? Who was that source? CNN was the source. And Pew Research. And that's the problem. Notice their reaction. It's not that they can't believe the data. It's that they're not in charge. They're not in charge. And therein lies the problem. And this is why they're not going to be able to learn lessons from what happened in November, because they're not in charge. They're simply not in charge. They want a social media outlet that the left controls. That's why they've all gone to Blue Sky. I got an account on Blue Sky when it first started. I explicitly chose not to mention politics at all. And just by virtue of my existence on the platform was getting hate from progressives. How dare you come here? I was tweeting on Blue Sky, whatever you would call it on Blue Sky, posting about cooking, and they would attack me. And that's the benefit of this CNN show. I don't want to be a part of this hive mind nonsense on CNN, but this shows you the arrogance of the journalistic community. And last night really exposed it. They can't accept the fact that the same people at CNN telling them polling driven data will show them polling driven data that shows X Twitter is now balanced. 48% Democrat, 47% Republican, exactly the way the electorate is. Twitter now looks like the American electorate, and they're like, this can't be. It certainly can't be, because people are allowed to say terrible things that I disagree with on Twitter. People are allowed to say things I don't think are true on Twitter. Just because you don't think it's true doesn't mean it's not true. Holy moly, these people. And even the anchor had not heard about the ideological balance on Twitter. Demanded to know from Scott Jennings, your source. The source is CNN. They don't like it because it is balanced. That's why they don't like Fox News. Do you know, when I was at CNN, I could do one-on-one interviews. When I was at Fox News, I was never allowed to do a one-on-one interview. It always had to be with someone from the other side to be balanced. I actually liked the one-on-one interviews better, not because I don't want someone challenging me, because I like it when the reporters challenge me. Like I do interviews with Leland Vittert a lot on News Nation. Great. It's actually become the news channel. In fact, I've got it on the studio right now. Way more fair, middle of the road, just news-based, not Trump-obsessed than anybody else. And when I go on with Leland Vittert, like last night, he challenged me, played devil's advocate the whole time. And when the Democrat came on after me, did the exact same thing. It wasn't the Democrat and me being put into a false fight where we're supposed to yell at each other and challenge each other. No, it was a substantive conversation where he probed me as hard as he probed the other guy on the weaknesses of our argument, and it worked. It makes you better. These people at CNN, though, if they're not in charge, they believe it's got to be it's some right-wing lie, and that's part of the problem here is they don't like being confronted with not just alternate views but also facts that challenge their worldview. So Scott Jennings throws at them the fact that now Twitter is, according to Pew Research, which is widely respected by everyone, Pew Research shows it is an ideologically balanced group of people on Twitter, and they have a meltdown at CNN with even the anchor demanding to know the source, incredulous that this could be the case. No, you people on the left just don't like it when you're not in charge. That's why you have to discredit the Senate when you don't run the Senate. It's why you have to discredit the Supreme Court because you don't control the Supreme Court. It's why you got to discredit the Electoral College when you don't control the Electoral College. It's why you got to discredit any institution you don't control. And now you don't control Twitter. You're tied in ideological makeup with people in Twitter, and so you must begin to destroy Twitter because you don't control it. It's all about the power and all about who controls what. And for the left, if they don't control it, it's bad. They don't want to be challenged. By the way, you can set yourself up on Twitter so you don't have to see the people who challenge you. You don't have to see the people who insult you. You don't have to see the people who troll you. They don't want those people to exist is the problem. And when Scott Jennings and Jim Garrity inform them they're wrong, they simply can't handle it. It's not because they were women, it's because they were progressives. Just needling some of you, but seriously, it's because they were progressives. And they really have closed their minds to any sort of data that challenges their worldview. The epistemic closure of the progressive mind. They can't understand that there are institutions out there that are fair and balanced that they don't control because they believe the only fair institutions are the ones that they are completely in charge of, and they can silence anyone who dares dissent. And that's not fair and balanced. It's just a power play by the left. Now, I want to tell you, with the banking situation out there right now and the economic turmoil, Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years. They've been warning people about a secret war on cash for some time. If you're interested in safeguarding your hard-earned cash from the secret war on cash, you need to get their free report. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, and they can educate you on protecting your assets. This report, The Secret War on Cash, takes less than 15 minutes to read, and it can help you with your retirement and finances. You get a free copy, completely free, by calling or texting 800-289-2646. You just mentioned my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. When you call or text 800-289-2646, The Secret War on Cash applies to digital forms of currency as well. Call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646, or go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're buying a building or building a building or you need a heavy equipment loan, they can move fast. The better your credit rating, the faster they can move. They make their own decisions. They love to work with you. FirstLibertyGA.com, FirstLibertyGA.com. Give them a call. I want to go to Eric in Edgewater, Florida. Welcome to the show, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy holidays to everybody.
You too.
Joy Reid is the gift that keeps on giving. I think I saw her yesterday. I think it was on Stephen Turley's broadcast. She had a guest, and they were talking about the last Trump term. He was advised that he can't use the National Guard to round up illegal immigrants. And right away, in Joy Reid fashion, she goes, yes, you cannot use the National Guard to shoot American citizens. Well, nobody said shoot, and the last I checked, illegal immigrants are not American citizens.
Correct.
Your take.
Yeah, listen, Joy Reid is somewhere a village is missing an idiot, and that idiot is making a lot of money on MSNBC, which is one reason the ratings are in the tank. This is also the woman who wants people to divide their families at Thanksgiving. She wants Americans to not go to Thanksgiving dinner with their relatives who might disagree with them politically, which is an actual, I would say, evil thing to do. It's advocacy of an evil to actively not love your neighbor because of political disagreement. She's not and by the way, she's apparently not a fantastic person to deal with behind the scenes there either. She's a anti-Semitic loon. Back in the day, she ran that website that she claimed was hacked because she put up a bunch of homophobic stuff, and people exposed it. And she's like, oh, no, someone must have hacked it. And they supposedly did an investigation. They never announced what the investigation found, apparently. And she also on there attacked Wolf Blitzer at CNN for being a pawn of the Jews, among other things. Just a deeply demented person. But, they give these mentally unwell progressives airtime at MSNBC, and the rest of us get to laugh at them. I thought it was hilarious at MSNBC. They bragged about how many people watched them on election night. Well, their ratings have cratered since election day. And on election night, the whole reason their ratings were so spectacular is because of people like you and me tuning in to watch them cry. It actually was hysterical to watch MSNBC's meltdown on election night as Steve Kornacki is basically telling everyone Trump's going to win. And they're like, well, we don't know that he's going to win. Kamala Harris just won New Jersey. They did everything possible to delay the inevitable. Well, after every other network had called it for Trump, they were still declaring Kamala Harris. She won California, She might get Alaska. You never know. Oh, my goodness. When we come back, we got to move on to other things, including, the left has to lie to try to stay in power.